Frozen face. Hiker rescued, frostbitten face and t-shirt on Mt Lafayette. So the story is that the search and rescue teams are out looking for a different hiker, a lost hiker, and they encounter this man. He's on Mt Lafayette, just has a t-shirt, and he's got frostbite on his face. So I'll tell you the story, just give me a second to put on some clothes. This feels a lot better. I put on a jacket and a hat. I'll tell you the story in a second. It's just, I want to tell you my purpose for this video is that no one else gets a frostbite injury, no one else gets into stress or perishes, and we can't reach everyone. Not everyone will listen maybe, but we'll save who we can. So I want to talk about knowledge, behavior or choices, and gear. So this might be a two-part video, but here's a story, link in the description. This is from an article in the Laconia Daily Sun, and it's quoting Captain Michael Eastman of New Hampshire Fish and Game. Eastman stated that on that second day of the search, in other words, they were searching for the lost hiker Emily Sotelo, and despite heroic efforts, she didn't make it. Eastman stated that on that second day of the searchers encountered an incredibly lucky man who had summited the peak in a t-shirt and a small backpack. His face was frozen. I'm not sure how much it was worth it, Eastman said. There are people up there doing crazy things and getting away with it. But it's not good to expect that to happen. I'm surprised we don't have more of it. And I've had similar thoughts for years now. I used to hike the trails more. I still hike the trails, but more often now it seems I'm bushwhacking. But when I'm on an actual trail, I encounter a lot of people, and a lot of those are unprepared or almost got nothing as far as gear, and as far as skills. A lot of times I don't know. Sometimes I think I can tell because they're just bumbling along. It's an accident waiting to happen, and it's surprising that we don't have more of it. So how much of this grace period do we have? Seems to me there's more people getting into trouble. So I'm just doing what I can. These videos are reaching literally hundreds of thousands of people now. Got over 1 million views. And I thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Invite your friends. Anyway, people leave a lot of comments. The overwhelming majority are nice and supportive. Some are insulting. Some I don't know how to take them. Someone wrote, his ears must be ready to fall off without a hat in 12 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think that was one of my survival videos where I was out just showing with limited gear how I can build a shelter. I think it was the one I just had a wool blanket and a fixed blade knife, and I went out in the winter and made this shelter, started a fire. So 12 degrees Fahrenheit is, I explained in the description of the video, that was the low at night. So in the day, I don't remember if it was 20s or 30s, maybe low 30s. Okay, so I'm building a shelter and also working to collect firewood and different things. 30 degrees, let's say, I'm getting hot. So I take off my hat, maybe unzip my jacket, something like that. I forget if I actually took off my jacket. But I had them with me. But it's just, you can't just watch videos and then, okay, I watched a couple survival videos. I can go out there. He didn't have a hat in one circumstance. I can just not bring a hat. It doesn't work that way. You got to understand the weather. Okay, I was in the White Mountains for that trip, and in the White Mountains, typically, it can be like relatively warm for a winter, like let's say 30 degrees. But then it drops into the teens. It can drop down single digits or even zero, below zero at night. There can be rare exceptions, like if there's a storm, a snowstorm coming in, and actually get a little bit warmer overnight. That's relatively rare. Usually sun goes down and then it's significantly colder. So someone starting out on the trail, you don't want to dress and just bring gear for the temperature when you're starting out, let's say late morning. Seems kind of nice actually. I mean, you just leave in your hotel room or your warm car or whatever it is, step out into 35-degree weather. Doesn't feel that bad, and you're down low, so the trees are blocking the wind, little or no wind chill. Doesn't feel that bad at all. Guy might think, well, if I keep moving, I can just have the t-shirt, right? And I mean, that's one particular case. I'm not saying that happened in this case, but someone could think, oh, I just be all set with a t-shirt. Well, you get above the tree line, it's a world of difference. Now you're in the wind, it's colder, just gaining altitude. The wind makes it seem a lot colder, and you can be getting hypothermia, can be getting frostbite just then. But then if something happens, you get lost, you get injured, have some sort of medical event, you know, can't make it back down for whatever reason, and you're up there at night, now you can die. So it's you can get injured from frostbite, and I've had frostbite from self-diagnosis. I mean, I don't go to doctors a lot. Not that I'm recommending that. You get an injury, go to the doctor. But you know, so I don't know if it's frostbite or frost nip or whatever it is. But if I get some sort of injury from cold and it's scabbed over, you know, it warms up and it's an open sore, I'm thinking it's frostbite. Okay, so you just got to be careful out there. Read another comment. A lot of nice comments. This one is from Elaine. It says, I had an interesting and somewhat scary experience similar to Emily's while hiking to the summit of Mount Grotto in Canmore, Alberta. It was my third ascent last year, 2021, and was in February, so it was a winter ascent. It was a beautiful day at the base, 0 degrees Celsius and no wind. Up top it was -5 degrees Celsius and probably 60 to 80 km/h winds. I was trying to summit in 2.5 hours, so I didn't want to stop but put layers on as I exited the tree line. Because I was quickly moving, I was sweating, and I thought my energy output would keep me warm enough. But the winds were too strong and robbed me of that valuable heat. Before the summit, I began to shiver, and I knew I needed to layer up. It was a struggle to get the jacket on as my fingers were so cold. I couldn't work the zipper, and my wind was blowing the jacket every which way. 15 minutes in, I finally got it zipped. With the warmer mitts and the shell on, I continued but never really warmed up. By this time, my feet were numb, and I couldn't feel them. I wasn't too worried about frostbite as the temps were only -5 degrees, but I was worried a bit about coordination. At the summit, rather than head down the way I came, I elected to continue with my original plan to walk the ridge and exit as a loop. 15 minutes along the ridge, I changed my mind and turned to go back to the summit, but the winds were so strong they blew both hoods off and I could not keep them up. So I elected to continue. At least the wind was at my back. A short time later, I began to shiver significantly. I knew I was going hypothermic. My hands and feet were just stumps at this point, not much feeling there. I had another down layer and some hand warmers in my pack, so I decided to find a wind shelter and fish them out. I really didn't want to stop. I had no choice. It took me 30 minutes to get the extra layer on. Even with the shelter, which was just a cliff ledge, I had to make sure nothing got blown away. So everything I took off had to go in the pack until I needed it again. The layers had to go on in the correct order, they'd be useless. So I exposed myself somewhat in order to get properly dressed to continue. Only one of the 2 hand warmers worked. So, and the person made it out, but brought out some good points there. And I've had hands so frozen that, you know, so cold that they stop working, and I've called them flippers. And I'm holding a tool or whatever I'm trying to do. I can't grip like this anymore. It's impossible now. So I'm holding something like this. Imagine trying to make your zipper work. You just got flippers. And the person said only one of the 2 hand warmers worked. That can be a thing. I believe they were talking about hand warmers kind of like this. It's a Hot Hand brand hand warmers. There's 2 there. They call them hand warmers rather than body warmers because it's small enough to fit in a glove, right? But one test you can do, it's not infallible. One test you can do is this nice and soft? And you can kind of feel like the granules in there. You don't want to do it too hard because you don't want to break it open accidentally and activate it. But if there's any like solidness sort of feeling in there, then hand warmer's bad. It's not going to work. When you get where you need to go, you know, it happened to me just a couple days ago. Not out on the trail, but just you know, clearing my driveway and shoveling my walks and such. You know, just wanted a couple hand warmers, and one of them not working. You know, something to think about. Good to have, but it's good to have gear. Don't depend on gear like it's absolutely gonna do what you need it to do. This is a video comment by Baka Beck. Doug, I hiked up there once in mid-October back in the 90s. So up there, meaning Mt Lafayette, where Emily Sotelo recently got lost and never made it back, and this other hiker was encountered during that rescue attempt in just a t-shirt and a frostbitten face. But the person says, Doug, I hiked up there once in mid-October back in the 90s after leaving the Greenleaf Hut nearing the summit, and there was a well-defined thermal wind tunnel. I swear I could put my hand and arm into it and feel the thrust. It's about 30 feet wide. My girlfriend Debbie is very tiny, and once I crossed through it I had to coax her. She made it, and we continued to the top and walked along the ridge and down falling waters. Well, I got down that day. It was very uncomfortable up top, and I became very aware of how people die on mountains. It happened very quickly. Even though you have the gear, it's very difficult to work things like zippers. Stuff can also get blown away from you, or you simply can't find it in the pack because your brain is shutting down. Solo hiking can be dangerous. I've done it. Many of our cohort have and continue to do it. But when stuff goes wrong, it sure is much better to have some mates help you out. So that's a good point. I mean, it's much, much safer hiking with one or more people. If you're just alone, it's dangerous. And I realize I've done videos just me alone. I got no film crew. I do my own filming. I have no safety crew. So even if I don't go way out in nowhere, it can be dangerous. But if I do go somewhere remote, and once I even got an injury, my foot went down into this natural like pit. It was kind of like a booby trap. I don't think anyone made it, but it was almost like the perfect naturally made booby trap covered by leaves. So my foot went through, and I could feel my bone tweaking. I didn't break my shin bone, but you know, messed up my knee. You know, I didn't know if I was going to be able to hike back at first. I did camp out the night and hurt a little bit, but I was able to hike out. It was kind of close. So just something to think about. At my age now, my health, my skills that I have, I'm willing to go out alone. I do, but I'm taking some sort of risk. I might not make it back even now. Came out here alone. This isn't a remote place, but still, it's a lot safer with one or more friends. Just word to the wise, or at least know the risks, what you're getting into. Okay, so this was a comment by Leslie. I got hypothermia hiking up Mount Marcy. It's no joke. I could not get a fire started. There was an all-afternoon drizzle, I was overheated and wet. Darkness was coming on. I was green, inexperienced, and foolish. I've been there too. Fortunately, my wife of now 53 years was with me, and we're able to keep one another warm in a lean-to under a couple of sleeping bags. We had food and water. I was generally scared. Morning could not come soon enough. Lafayette can be extremely dangerous. Not a place to play games and or test your skills. We were lucky that day. Little Debbie could have been blown off the mountain. At 74, a cardigan is more my speed these days. I go real slow. There's no need to rush. I always pack 2 flashlights, a headlamp, and a handheld flashlight. Extra clothing is a must, even in the summer. Waterproof matches. Water is heavy, but bring extra. So a number of good points in that one short comment that I'm reading part of here. It's an excerpt. You know, I'm a senior or not, depending on how you define it. So not a young man, I'm transitioning to an old man. So even men my age have medical events, have a heart attack or something, God forbid, a stroke. But then as the years progress, it's becomes more likely that something can happen like that. And you might not make it back. It's one thing you have a heart attack in an apartment and you're living with family and they see you and call 911 or whatever. You're alone on a trail. That very likely could be it. And we all have to decide for ourselves. I mean, we're competent adults, make our own decisions. I'm going to keep going. I think even when I'm older, I'll make the decision then, but 10, 20, if I'm still alive, 30, 40 years from now, I think I'll still be doing what I can do. And if I perish doing what I love, well, no one lives forever. I'm not going to take foolish chances. You know, it depends on what sort of medical conditions I end up with, I suppose. I mean, we don't get to make a choice, really. I mean, either you die young or you live old and tend to have more and more problems as you go, right? But I still want to personally keep enjoying the great outdoors. But I mean, this person's making wise choices, it seems. They're doing less than they used to do. That seems wise, right? So to bring up that point, bring extra food, bring 2 flashlights. That's really good advice in my opinion. Have a headlamp, those are convenient, but also a handheld light. So the batteries run out on one, or one breaks, so you lose it. You still got the other one. It's a lot easier to make it back in the dark, you know, with the flashlight. And even if you weren't planning on coming back in the dark, something happens, it takes longer than you thought. Now you're coming back in the dark, and it's just a lot easier with light. So have a flashlight, have 2 flashlights. Another advantage of 2 lights is you meet someone and they don't have a flashlight, you can lend them one of your lights. And there's a lot of people get rescued that I've heard of, and it's not because official search and rescuers found them. They were lend aid by just another hiker. And one of the ways you can do that, if you're prepared enough to have 2 lights. I think as the last comment I'll read today, but it's hard to read this screen name, but I think it's Old Cracker Dated. But it's really good, this little excerpt I'm going to read. People don't seem to understand. The trail up does not look like the trail down. People don't comprehend everything's reversed. Plus, going up, attention is narrowed. Coming down, view is wide. It's good stuff right there, very true. And you can rewind that, listen to it again if you'd like. And that's all for now. I don't want to make this too long. Be a 2-part series. Next video, be going more into gear and different practical ways to keep yourself from getting frostbite, skin injury from the cold on your skin. So there's gear, but you need more than gear. You need the knowledge of how to use it. But then the behavior, or otherwise the choices that you make. You can have all the gear in the world, and you can have all kinds of theoretical academic knowledge. You don't make the right choices, it's not going to help you at all. So I want you to be safe. I don't want you to get a skin injury or any sort of injury. I don't want you to freeze your face or ears off. Come on, guys. I want you to be safe, but it's up to you. Just some words to the wise. And have fun out there. And also, oh yeah, Christmas is coming up. I wish you a very Merry Christmas to you and all yours. And God bless you guys. Hope to see you again this coming Thursday, 9 p.m. Gonna really try, work hard for you guys to get that next video out by then. So hope to see you then. Should air as a premiere, we can talk in the comments, in the chat. Talk to you then. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. John 16:33.